This is our first inaugural video in high definition. Although I've shot a couple of videos on my hair transplant website for close-up high definition, I'm thinking about moving a lot of my videos over to the high definition format now that YouTube is accepting high definition format through some different mechanisms. So what we're going to talk about today is the difference between an education and an excuse. I've talked about this a lot, and I do a lot of work to educate my patients on the front end. And the difference between an education and an excuse is, simply put, exactly the same words I tell you, but whether I said it before the procedure or after the procedure. It's an education before the procedure, and it's, oh my God, doctor, why didn't you tell me this, my procedure wasn't going to do this for me? That's an excuse. So it's exactly the same words from my mouth to your ears, but the difference is when it was said. So I want to talk a little bit about expectations. So we're talking about education excuses. We're going to talk about another E word, which is expectations. What does that mean? How do I calibrate your perception? I always say that the only thing I can predict about human nature is that it's unpredictable. So I'm sorry, I sound a little bit like Barry White because I'm, had a little cold over the last few days, but I'm getting better now. So the other thing is important is thinking about what are those expectations. A lot of people tell me, ask me, what is the recovery like? How many days is it? So I'll say it's 7 to 10 or 10 to 14 days. And the real problem with that is, what is it, 10 or 14? What if day 15 comes and your expectation of recovery hasn't been met? You're still swollen, there's still a little bruise, or there's a little discomfort on the side. As I said, the only thing I can predict about human nature is that it's unpredictable. So I don't know exactly what you're going to tell me. And the real problem of my giving you a range of dates, and I'll give you some with that caveat, is that you may tell me, well, okay, 7 to 14. I expect no more than 14, and when day 15 comes, it better be perfect, but usually it's not because everything's an evolution. The other thing that's important is that how do you perceive it? What's so interesting is when I give a range of numbers, I'm going to talk a little about human nature. If I say the recovery is between 7 to 10, you usually hear 7. If I say your wrestling is going to last you between 6 months to 12 months, the number you hear is a larger number, 12 months, because you want the most out of it. And if I tell you your acne scarring is going to be improved between 30 to 70%, well, what the heck does that mean to begin with? Second of all, 70% is perhaps what you're going to think about, 70%. And you say, well, you don't even hear the number 30%. So whatever it is, I just want to make sure that we're on the same page. So let's spend a little bit more time on the front end to talk about education so that our expectations are correct in order for me to avoid sounding like I'm giving you an excuse. So all of those things are really, really important. And there's not a right answer for any of these things. It's more you're sitting down with me and us talking about things so that we can establish the right education, and you're asking me the questions. And that's also why I have a forum there, because I just did a consultation with a lovely young lady today for a chin implant, and she was probably a little bit worried, is she going to forget to ask me a question? I said, don't worry about it. Every day I check my website, check my forum, and just answer those questions so that you don't feel like, oh my goodness, what if I needed to ask him another question? Please ask me. And I had another lady that came from, I think, Austin or something, and Marcy, before I walked in the room, says, Dr. Lamb, be careful. This lady's got a typed list of things that demands here, and boom, boom. It's all diagrammed. And I said, Marcy, don't worry about it. I can handle anyone, because I'm going to be upfront and honest with them. So I sat down, and she had the whole thing. Her husband was there, and I basically looked at the first page. She said, will these 3 things be done? I said, no, it won't do this. No, it won't do. No. Flip page. No, no, no. Yes, maybe. No. And I said, look, my ultimate goal is to make you look better, but these things you've asked me for are not going to make you look better, and it's not going to do it for you. You want to do it. Now, it's not being arrogant, it's being truthful, and it's giving you the right education. So, oh, by the way, if you don't see this in high definition, it's probably because you're on a website that doesn't accommodate high definition, and I've recorded this both in high def and standard def. So, anyways, hopefully that's a good idea of the difference between education, expectations, and excuses.